Hello family, and welcome to another Hot Bread Wednesday. I'm excited to be here with you guys again and hoping to share a word of encouragement for all of those out there who may not be having as great as a Wednesday as others. I'm going to be coming from John chapter 3 today, but I want to start off telling you that the name of this hot bread is called Testing the Waters, and you'll see why down the line. But stay tuned if you are someone who is in a situation with a family, friend, loved one, who you are praying for them to be reborn and to be saved, and you're not sure how that's going to happen. It looks impossible. I think that you might want to stay until the end of this video. And so I'm going to give you a backstory first. Recently went on a trip, and on this particular day we had gone to the beach. And my 8-year-old daughter, she's a risk taker, but she's also not a very good swimmer. She's a beginning swimmer. She decided that she wanted to go out into the ocean. So of course, like any responsible parent, I said, you got to take my hand because these waves, they can kind of be a little bit crazy sometimes. So the first wave came, she had my hand, kind of hit her, knocked her back, but she got back up like a champ and said, that was fun. I'm like, you sure you're okay? She said, no, that was fun. I think I can do it without your hand. So I let her hand go a little bit and monitored her from the side. And so the second wave kind of came and it was looking just a little bit bigger than the last one. But I allowed her to, in good distance, to let the wave kind of come to her and knocked her back again. And she again got up and said, that was fun. She's a risk taker. So I said, okay. All right. So she said, this time, don't hold my hand. I got this. Like, I know what to do. I said, okay. So the biggest wave that you could probably imagine comes, and I'm already standing guard, ready to jump in at any point in time because I see it rolling like from a mile away. And so as it approaches her, she kind of prepares herself, but this wasn't a wave that she was able to take on. And this thing knocked her all the way back. And not only did it knock her all the way back, but she couldn't see. The salt water had gotten so much into her eyes that she was crying out, Mom, where are you? She said, say something so I can find out where you are. And then she asked me at the same time to hold my hand out so that she could grab hold of me. And already, doesn't this sound like a lot of our stories of being reborn and saved again, where we thought we could take the waves? We thought it was fun. We didn't really see a problem with it until we realized that we were blind. We realized that we were in darkness. We realized that we needed to cry out to God and to ask him to hold his hand out so that he can save us. And I was reminded of the verse in John chapter 3, verse 8, that's going to talk a little bit about the work of the Holy Spirit and how the work of the Holy Spirit is the primary thing when it comes to the process. Because don't we know that being reborn is a process? So John 3, verse 8 says, the wind blows wherever it wants, just as you can hear the wind, but can't tell where it comes from or where it's going, so you can't explain how people are born of the Spirit. And so to give you some context on this is a conversation that Jesus is trying to explain the meaning of being reborn and how that process begins to a Pharisee by the name of Nicodemus. Nicodemus is a Pharisee that goes and sees Jesus at night, curious, knowing that he's seen miracle signs and wonders, but also not wanting to be seen by the other Pharisees who are detesting him. So Nicodemus goes to see him in the darkness. Think about that. He goes to see the light of the world in the darkness. But isn't that where we always find the Lord, where we can see him the best when we're entrapped in darkness? So I'll get back to that a little bit later on. But anyways, so when I was reading this verse, it talks about the wind blows wherever it wants. When you read this verse, the word wind is translated to a Greek word named pneuma, Pneuma. And pneuma is a word that means breath. It means spirit. And in this particular verse, it's likening it to the Holy Spirit. And so when you read it that way, the Holy Spirit, goes wherever it wants. And just like you can't tell where it's going, so you can't explain how people are born of the Spirit. What does that mean? Many times there's so many thoughts about what we can do to help people to get saved, what we think we need to say, what we need to keep them from, all of those different types of things, right? But what this particular verse is showing us is that the Holy Spirit has a free will to do what he wants with who he wants, whenever he wants. As y'all saw in that example, there were some waves, right? They were coming and they were knocking my daughter down. And all the ones that I thought were going to be the one to take her out and for her to realize she needed help weren't the one. The Lord knows exactly when and how to bring in the transformation. And what I love about this particular verse is that biblically, water, when we're talking about the waves as it relates to my story, water is related to life. And wind is seen as the spirit, right? So if we're thinking about life and the Holy Spirit moving over our lives and how he was transforming, how this is a point of transformation, right? And how he knew exactly how to get to my daughter to make her cry out and say, okay, Lord, Mom, I need to hear your voice. I need you to hold out your hand. And so maybe it's not somebody that is that you're praying for, that you want to be saved or reborn. Maybe it is you, waves again. And a biblical terminology, when we see waves, that means chaos or turmoil or trials. And maybe you're getting hit by the waves today. Understand that is the Spirit moving. And that wherever he knocks us down or we feel knocked down, there's a point for growth. And there's a point to give God glory. There's a point for transformation. So it's my prayer to you this week that if you have loved ones that are in a place of darkness, that God knows what he's doing. It doesn't mean don't pray for them, but have hope that the Holy Spirit, just as the wind, we can't necessarily, we don't know it, we can't see it, but we can see the effects of it, right? We can see the wind blow through the leaves and we can see the grass moving, and such as with our loved ones sometimes. And that, we don't necessarily see all that the Holy Spirit is doing, but we'll definitely see the effects of it. And that's where I want to encourage y'all to give God glory and praise when you see it, because he's going to do it, because he's done it before and he'll do it again. Be blessed.